Greetings, children of Assyrian. There are many misconceptions in the Warhammer 40k community. Many people get their information through word of mouth and memes, not primary sources such as novels and codices, causing widespread misinformation, such as the deathcore of Krieg being stereotyped as suicidal shovel enthusiasts, or the idea that the orcs can manifest literally anything just by believing it to be true. While most of these misconceptions are harmless, some make meaningful conversation impossible, as everyone regurgitates the same incorrect information over and over again. As an Eldar lore channel, I thought I'd correct some of the misconceptions surrounding my favorite faction that I have heard during my time in the hobby. The first misconception is one I hear all the time, and is a quite damaging mischaracterization of the Craftworld Eldar. The misconception is that the Craftworld Eldar are responsible for creating Slaanesh, and by doing so, are responsible for the terrible state of the galaxy in the 41st millennium. This misconception comes from people broadly generalizing the different societies and cultures of the Eldar, assuming that the Eldar factions such as the Craftworlds, Drakari, Exodites, and Harlequins all come from the same group of pre-fall Eldar. Before the fall, there were several different factions of the Eldar. The majority of Eldar were the debased hedonists of the Eldar homeworlds. These Eldar were responsible for the birth of Slaanesh, along with the city of Camorra in the Webway, home of what would become the Drakari. All the Eldar that partook in the degenerate hedonism of the old Eldar Empire died during the birth of Slaanesh, save the Drakari, who were spared this fate due to them residing in the Webway, the pocket dimension the Eldar used for interstellar travel. However, the Drakari were not the only Eldar to survive the fall. Several factions of Eldar opposed the hedonism of the old Eldar Empire, leaving their former homes in an exodus to the far reaches of the Empire. The vast distance between them and the Eldar homeworld spared them from much of the initial psychic shockwave of Slaanesh's birth. Among these survivors were the Craftworld Eldar. The Craftworlders were traders and explorers, and spent centuries separated from the Eldar Empire. Because of this, they saw more clearly what was happening to the Eldar, and were disgusted by the hedonism of their kin. They took the few remaining Eldar who had not succumbed to hedonism and debauchery, and fled to the farthest reaches of the Empire. The Craftworld Eldar never took part in the debauchery that led to the fall. Saying the Craftworld Eldar are responsible for the birth of Slaanesh is as absurd as saying the Cadians are responsible for the opening of the Great Rift. The second misconception is the idea that all the Eldar's accomplishments, from their technological prowess and military achievements, to their eventual dominion over the entire galaxy, were all given to the Eldar by the Old Ones. That the Eldar never accomplished anything on their own, and would have never taken control of the galaxy without the support of the Old Ones. This is often brought up as a form of pro-Imperium propaganda, claiming that the Eldar were just handed control of the galaxy, while humanity conquered it all on their own. Which is absurd. Humanity in the 41st millennium would be extinct if it weren't for the direct intervention of a godlike figure who created a race of super soldiers and gave them the technology they needed to take control of the galaxy. A very similar situation to the one the Eldar were in 100 million years earlier. That point aside, the Old Ones didn't just give the Eldar control of the galaxy. The creation of the Eldar was a last-ditch effort to prevent the Necrons from gaining complete dominion over the galaxy. And shortly after the Eldar's creation, the last of the Old Ones died, leaving the Eldar alone in an incredibly hostile galaxy. The only thing the Old Ones gave the Eldar besides their biological enhancements was knowledge of how to access the Webway, which had already been compromised by the Necrons. The Eldar had to fight the war in heaven, a conflict so vast in scale it makes every war since seem like a minor skirmish, a conflict the Eldar won. The Eldar defeated the Necrons, who fled and entered hibernation to avoid being eradicated by the Eldar. As soon as the battle was won, the Eldar had to defeat the Krork and every other incredibly hostile race the Old Ones had made to fight the Necrons. It took centuries of effort for the Eldar to achieve galactic dominance, before taking their rightful place as rulers of the galaxy. The third misconception I'd like to address is that the Eldar see humans as worthless primitives. While the Eldar do see humanity as a rather primitive species, which in my opinion is fair considering how advanced the Eldar are, the Eldar respect humanity. The Eldar see humanity as a noble yet flawed species. While the Eldar obviously prioritize their own species over humanity, often manipulating them to their own ends and even occasionally attacking them, the Eldar do not do so out of malice, only attacking the Imperium when all other options have been exhausted. The Eldar will always attempt to resolve conflict with the Imperium when it is possible. Ironically, it is often the arrogance and hatred of the Imperium towards the Xenos that causes diplomacy between the two races to fail so often, not the arrogance of the Eldar. A common complaint about the Eldar's interactions with humanity is that the Eldar are manipulative, arrogant, and intentionally vague. While the first two are accurate to an extent, the Eldar are not intentionally vague. Much of the difficulty in communication between humanity and the Eldar comes from the complexity of Eldar language. The Eldar language is incredibly complex, every word having dozens of separate meanings and implications, and much of the Eldar language relying on knowledge of the legends of the Eldar. Even if those major hurdles are overcome, the Eldar's language has a physical component to it as well. Every motion, imperceptible to the human eye, conveys meaning beyond human comprehension. Due to this, communication often breaks down, as the humans believe the Eldar are being intentionally vague and dishonest, while the Eldar become exasperated at the humans' inability to pick up on the subtle context of the Eldar language. The fourth misconception is that the Eldar are physically weaker than humans. While Eldar might appear small and lanky when compared to Space Marines, they are actually nearly 7 feet tall, and are quite muscular when compared to humans. Eldar have dense, coiled muscle fibers, allowing them to have much greater strength with less muscle mass, granting them inhuman strength while maintaining their lithe silhouette. The Eldar's coiled muscles also grant them their lightning-quick reflexes and inhuman speed, allowing them to move at a speed almost imperceptible to the human eye. These abilities make the Eldar a devastating force on the battlefield, even their comparatively untrained militias being able to defeat elite regiments of Imperial Guard. The aspect warriors of the Eldar are even more powerful, able to kill Space Marines with relative ease. The Eldar are a devastating force on the battlefield, even without considering their potent psychic abilities. While it is true that the Eldar are a dying race, many people misunderstand this to mean that there are almost no Eldar left. While the Eldar are few in number when compared to other races such as humanity and the Orcs, there are still billions of Eldar left in the galaxy. While we don't have an exact number, each Craftworld houses a planet's worth of Eldar, and there are thousands of Craftworlds left in the galaxy. The term dying race refers to the devastating nature of the fall and the vast impact it had on the Eldar. They were once the greatest civilization in the galaxy. Entire solar systems were created and destroyed at their whim. Now they can do little more than survive in an increasingly hostile galaxy, awaiting the final battle of chaos in which both the real space and the warp will be destroyed. They are a dying race in the sense that their greatest days are behind them, and eternal torment awaits them upon their death. I hope you found the video informative and entertaining. If you did, I would appreciate it if you liked the video. Subscribe for more Eldar-related content like this in the future. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.